So we got ourselves a donor truck. Since the yellow one has a bent frame, found this one for a pretty decent price. Um, this one also has some front end damage, but the frame so far looks to be in good condition. So the plan is we'll remove the front end, get rid of all of that, and then take some measurements to figure out if we're square and not bent. If that's the case, then we're gonna use this frame for the rest of the build going forward. This one is a dually, which I kind of want to keep, so we'll see what we do going forward on that. But like I said, the plan is just to go ahead and remove that front end and see if we're square. If we're square, then we'll press forward. But I want to keep this cab. This cab is pretty much all optioned out. It's Trailmaster, so I don't know if that's the optioned out package, but kind of like the high country for the day, I guess. Not entirely sure, but it is a camper special 3+3. I got it mainly because this one has already electric doors, which I know a lot of people don't like, but I want. And the interior has just got a lot of cool little options that I don't see. The bucket seats, I'll probably get rid of. I don't care too much for the bucket seats. I like bench seats. And I found a set in nearby of Astro van seats for this generation of Chevy that has a center console for both front and back. So I'm gonna lob off the brackets and make them work on a slider for this, both front and back. That way they'll both have reclining features and center consoles and cup holders. So that'll be pretty nice little deal. Gauge cluster is like super sweet in this thing, pretty clean. Don't know if the miles are, it's rolled over, let's be honest, but it's still got all of the original trim. That center console that goes in, I haven't seen too many of those, so I'm pretty stoked about that. Gonna have to do a little refurbish on it. Something else I didn't realize whenever I was purchasing this, because I did it while I was overseas. The interior still's got the back cushion here, but also this rubber, there we go, actual like a liner there, and then it also still has factory speakers, which I didn't even know was an option. So I'm pretty ecstatic about this one. I'm gonna tear into it at some point. The guts of it all seem fairly decent. Of course, we're gonna have some rust repair around the door seals. I already have the outer rocker, or yeah, if you want to call it that, that I was going to put on the yellow truck, but now I'll put on this one. The underside of it is really clean. I think this side is the only side that the inner portion of the rocker is rusted out. The other side is still good, but also does have surface rust. I think this door is the only door that's got a little bit of damage. It's dented in right here, but we could probably push that out and be all right. Again, this is not going to be a show truck, so it's going to be something that's going to get cleaned up and beat around in. So, but yeah, it's pretty decent cab-wise, and like I said, we're mainly after it for the frame. I'm going to put my single axle under this one, or single wheel axle under this one, and probably just do spacers to convert it over into a dually if we ever get down to that point. And like I said, I mean, truck's freaking pretty straight, and for the most part, almost rust free on this side. Usually you see a lot of rust down on the fenders, especially if you got these running boards, but kind of the other side did have some of that. But yeah, but like I said, we're going to get rid of those fenders and reuse the front end off my yellow truck, so we're not worried about that. So a lot of good parts. And then also this will give me an opportunity to do the drop kit on a stock frame, so that way you all can see how that's done. We may get a Porterbuilt back half. Well, I shouldn't say back half. I'm not going to go that expensive, but we'll get components to actually bag it, and then the front we'll probably just use the stock cross member, weld in the plates. I kind of wanted lay frame, but again, I also don't care that much. I just want it to sit on the ground for the most part, and then have a little bit of cool factor to it. So we'll at some point start working on this dude. So I just got done finding these on Facebook and just had to go pick them up. They're out of a '88 Astro van. The gentleman I bought them from said he bought it brand new in '88, and he had a bunch of kids that he would take to baseball games and all that, and he ended up pulling the seats out of it so that way they could all just pile in the van with their gear, and he would shuttle them back and forth, and they sat in a storage unit pretty much the whole time. These things are like pristine, brand new. I mean, you even seen it on the side. It's still got the sticker on it from whenever it was assembled. But I think these are going to be quite nice in the pickup truck. I mean, they recline pretty much all the way, and they've got center consoles with cup holders that can then fold it up to be in a bench seat. You got your armrests, and even your retractable seat belts, all in one seat. Now, the thought process is, what I'm going to do is unbolt the bottom bracket, since it's the clip-in style. But you can see that they, well, you probably can't see that one there, but they just bolt in on the frame. So my thought is just unbolting them, the mounts themselves, and then taking the stock slider bracket and just making mounts that will go to these seats, and then they'll slide right in. The biggest question I was thinking about was the height of it, because obviously these have headrests and the original seats, bench seats, don't. So I kind of already checked this, but if you measure from the bottom portion up to the top of the headrest, you're sitting like around 30 inches. maybe 30.5. And whenever you measure the bench seat on the truck, it comes out to, I believe it was 25. I don't know, we'll see if I make a liar out of myself. But doing the same process, going from the lower portion to about, 24.5 to 25. So there's about a 6-inch difference in between the two. But if you look as to the design of them, they are almost the exact same in setup. The biggest thing is the headrest. Well, that headrest is that 6 to 7 inch difference. So the other thing to beg question is the width. Now, the stock seat I measured at, I believe it was 58, and these are sitting at 54. Double check. I lied, they're 56. So we're only losing 2 inches of width, but then gaining all of these extra features that I'm just in love with. So I may try and make another slider for the back. That way, if I want to toss some stuff in the back portion of it, I can. But I mean, honestly, I'm not going to put anything back there. If anything, I might end up putting a system in the back. Now, remember, this cab is not the cab I'm using. It's just an extra truck. But instead of having this like fold up like it is, and having that minimal space back there, you're gonna have that headrest that comes up. I probably won't do a slider, because then I'll have to worry about leg room. Yeah, I don't think we'll do that. I think we'll also use the factory bracket on that and try and push that seat in a relatively same position, just basically to where it won't hit bless me, on that portion, and then we'll go from there. But I'm pretty ecstatic. We'll do maybe a little bit of a video of the brackets and getting them bolted in. I even told the gentleman that what I was doing with all of this, and he just snickered and said, "Times haven't changed much. Kids still do the same thing." And he wanted me to send him some pictures after I get them mounted up in the truck. So kind of anxious to get that done, just so I can get that to him and put a smile on his face. But we'll get these unloaded out of the truck, start actually tearing apart the cab that I'm going to use, and start getting brackets and all that stuff set up. And then while I have the seats out, it's going to make it easier to go ahead and do the headliner on this, because it's starting to fall. Of course, you know, that's what happens with these trucks. Well, about any vehicle anymore over a certain time. But that headliner's starting to sag real bad. So we'll get these seats out and then start pulling apart some of this trim, being very careful not to break any of it, and then get that out. I'm really curious as to how to do this center console, because I haven't seen one removed, so we'll see how it goes. But more to come. we got the seats removed, cleaned out a little bit more, got a better assessment. Carpet is tore up like I thought in a few spots, but I'm not too concerned with it. Like I said, it's not going to be a show truck, and I can put floor mats over that, and where they put holes and done their bracketry and all that stuff, that's going to be covered up, and same with that nasty little tear. But I'm surprised. It's fairly decent condition. They did drill a hole back here. For what? I don't know. But that water got in there and damaged that tool tray or whatever you want to call it. But I'll probably leave it. Kind of a cool little feature. So now we're at the point where we're going to start tearing the interior pieces out so we can get to the wiring and all of the other stuff, and get the headliner and the center console out so we can start repairing that stuff. So either we'll start that another day, or I may get bored tonight and do it. I don't know. We'll see. Nephew showed up and started helping me a little bit. He started working on pulling some of the front end components. Didn't get far into that because I told him he needed to help me with the interior. So got the seats all ripped out and vacuumed the carpet. It ain't purty, but it's for the most part all there. So we'll end up making brackets to put those bad boys in here, and then that'll cover up, some of the nastiness, and then we'll put just floor mats, cover up the rest. But now we're getting to the point where we're going to start tearing the trim pieces out, and then get that center console down so we can do a little repair on that. Dude, fix that little piece right there where it's warped. I may just make a new piece and put in there, and then work on the headliner. Since it's sagging, I'm gonna pull it down, and then we'll get new fabric, glue it up into place, make it look good. I'm actually kind of excited because those seats are actually gonna match fairly well with the stock interior color, so it's gonna work out pretty good, I think. The funny part is it's gonna be the bruised banana still, so it's gonna go yellow, and that yellow and tan/brown interior, I think it's gonna be kind of funny, but rotten banana on the inside, I guess. So, and then eventually we'll pull that dash and, I don't know, maybe fiberglass it, and then have it be brown. I was kind of actually surprised because, sometimes they have, faux wood trim. This is actual wood that this Trailmaster package put in. So able to get the rest of the trim pieces pulled and the headliner out. Only a couple of pieces had broken, like little tabs where they actually mount, but I think there was really only one that was broken. Headliner did come out without completely collapsing, so we'll be able to salvage that. And the center console that I was worried about actually came out fairly easy, so we're getting there, slowly but surely. So that cleaned up pretty well. And as you can see, for the most part, it's pretty good. Got a couple of spots that, I don't know, might reinforce it with some fiberglass or something. But I think for the most part, will be pretty good. Put some, a new thin layer of foam, and then find some fabric to put on it. Might mess with that tomorrow. It's getting too late to actually go get any fabric, so we'll put that on the list for tomorrow. So take in factor that we're going to keep the tan interior, but we're probably going to clean everything up and maybe repaint it. I'm going to try and use as much of the factory carpet as possible. Like that stained stuff, it is what it is. We'll probably end up just putting tan floor mats on it to cover up most of it. But I was thinking about the headliner material, and this is what I end up finding. I like the kind of texture of it. It's kind of neat, but I'm curious about the color. Do you all think that's a good one or not? All right, so I gotta apologize a little bit. I started getting carried away with working on stuff today and realized I hadn't recorded anything. Obviously, got the front end off finally. Getting ready to start checking the frame to see if it's square and good to go. And then if it is, then we're gonna start ripping off the suspension and get it ready to swap over from the yellow truck. And then once we get it back on the ground and get the rest of this suspension put back on the yellow truck, so then that way we can get rid of it, we'll start working on the body some more. Or I should say start working on the body, because I haven't really done anything. It's been all interior work thus far. But got the exhaust, drive shaft, the transmission that was in it, all of that out of it. Starting to remove this back window. Gonna go ahead and replace it, whether we get a new one from LMC or I did find one on Facebook Marketplace, and I may go grab it. It's pretty cheap, but need to go look at it and see what's up. But in order to remove these windows, they have this seal that just goes in that groove. So all you gotta do is pop off the little corner pieces and then pull the gasket around it, and then there's one again that goes on the bottom. Once I pull that last bit out, the window should come out with little to no effort, but you never know. Sometimes stuff gets squirrely. So that's what we're doing right now, and then we'll work on messing with measuring the frame and all that good stuff. Let's see if we can get it better. actually in there. This steel is still pretty malleable, so I may reuse it. Sometimes I don't tear it. Getting this lay off. Really should be using some type of plastic grind tool, but we're going to be working on this anyway, so. There we go. Just like that. I noticed there was a little indentation right around here. And they smacked that from the back side to push some of that back out. Then again, bed's gonna be pretty much up against here. Got that little cover on it. Really ain't that big of a deal. I am gonna clean it up though and put some more paint on it. This cargo light though, that's gonna have to get replaced. They put a backup camera or something up there with a light. I don't know. We'll see. So at this point, what I'm gonna do is run a plumb bob down the inside of the frame and mark a spot on the ground where it rests, and then measuring in between those 2 points to get the center line of the frame at those intersecting points. And then we'll run a laser through those center points to see if it is straight from the back end all the way up to the front. At this point, we had to turn the light off in order to see the laser, and then we're just taking the time to make sure we're connecting all the center points, and then having to make very minute adjustments to make sure it hits everything. So we got the center lines marked out. This one is going through the mark, there we go, on that one. And then we grabbed 2 more points, one here at the front of this member, and then dropped the center line down there, and then did the same at the transmission cross member down here, and then the very front where the bumper horn is, and we're pretty much dead nuts on. So now the only thing left to do is jack this up and put it on this flat portion on 4 points, and then we'll measure the height of those horns in the front, and if they're level, then we know that the frame is good. And we'll measure the corners of the cab to the frame, pretty much from this corner here to this corner of the horn, and vice versa. And if they're the same, then the cab is sitting square on the frame. And if that's the case, then we can press forward. If not, it's as easy as removing or loosening up the cab bolts and then shifting the cab whichever way we need to. But so far so good. It looks like the actual bumper mounts took the brunt of whatever happened to this chassis, and then of course the fenders did too. But everything else is looking pretty good, so we'll press on and see what happens. So a little bit of recap. Today we got the front end off. We power washed all the frame and some of the cab again. Popped out that window. Need to hit up that guy and see if we can get that other window from him. If not, then we'll just order one from LMC. Get that installed. We went ahead and checked the frame to see, since it had front end damage on this one as well, to see if everything was square, and sure enough, as you've seen, center line of the truck was good. Whenever I measured from the center of these bolt holes down to the core support down to this corner, both sides, that corner to this corner, that corner to this corner, they were 69 3/4 right on. So that means that's good. And then whenever we jacked up the frame on those four corners to make sure that it was sitting level, we put a level across the frame from one side to the other, and it did show that it wasn't tilting or anything. We measured from the top of the bottom of the C channel down to the ground, and it was, I think, 24 and maybe 3/4. I can't quite remember, but or I think it was 24 1/4. But either way, both sides spot on. So we know the cab is square with the frame. The frame is true. So tomorrow may run to the city and get that rear glass, and then come home and start tearing more into this. Hopefully we can get the control arms off, and then we'll knock off the steering components, the bumper brackets, get the whole front end disassembled, and then maybe, just maybe, we'll start pulling that stuff off the yellow truck to put on this truck, and then this stuff can go on a yellow truck. So that way we've got a rolling chassis, that way we can get rid of it. Something I noticed, my nephew was saying that the truck was pretty hard to get in the garage while I was gone, and I think I know why. Caliper got stuck and kept pulling in without the other side actually pressing in. Wore that rotor down and she fell right in there. But more to come, more fun. So I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. I do want to apologize for flip-flopping the camera so many times. I thought I had recorded it in one setting, so going forward I'm going to try and fix that. But that's going to be it for now. Like, subscribe if you want to see more of the build. If you got any comments, suggestions, just drop them down in the comments and go from there. Thanks for watching.